So hi all, welcome. I am Marnie Stockman, CEO of Lifecycle Insights. We are a QBR reporting platform, and we met many of you or your team at ITNation last week. So I thank you for joining. Last week we talked about the elements of a good QBR and what we aim to do to make the process faster. But last week was certainly mayhem with 4,200 people flying into a blizzard. I mean, a hurricane, not a blizzard, flying into a hurricane, and so many folks, so many activities, sessions, etc., that I wanted to give everyone an opportunity to really take a deeper dive, because you may have forgotten a thing or two that we talked about then, and see if we might be a good option for you to help deliver better QBRs. So I'm diving in. Ask questions in the chat if you have them. Happy to, I always say I'm Italian, so I don't consider it interrupting. I consider it participating, and we'll walk through and hopefully answer your questions as we go. So what you're looking at now is our dashboard. So when you sign up for Lifecycle Insights, we require a primary integration with one of the following: ConnectWise Manage, Autotask, Halo, Synchro, or IT Glue. And coming in December, Hoodoo as well. So we're aiming to find your contacts, companies, and assets in order to start building the basis for your reporting. So Lifecycle Insights does three things. We're aiming to automate pieces of your report, the data that you need to deliver a strong business review. We allow you to build a risk assessment or use one of our risk assessments so that you can then, create recommendations to deliver in one click the business review that you want to deliver to your client. We have a lot of flexibility, so feel free to ask questions if you want to see what you can change, revise, customize, and make your own. And I'm going to dive in. So as I mentioned, technical onboarding is pretty easy because you're going to integrate with one of those primary integrations. So that technically takes about 20 minutes to plug in API keys, exactly what you would expect to do. And we're going to go out, grab your data from the PSA or documentation platform. And then we're going to do warranty lookups on Dell, Lenovo, HP, Microsoft Surface, Cisco, Meraki, and SmartNet. So that is so that we can do a few things. We're aiming to drive an automated asset lifecycle management report. Long-term, we're looking at the budget too. So you'll see that in just a minute. But the immediate piece will be an asset report. When we do connect to your data, you can see here that we have a data quality score. Now, this one's at a 96%. Odds are yours won't come over at a 96%. Good chances that you might have some cleanup to do. And one of the things that we like to point out is in this first tile, you can see where we're missing data and where you need to clean it up. We'll also show you where you have duplicates. Because as you're building a budget for your clients and as you're building a technology roadmap of recommendations, if you're missing information about the assets that they have, you're missing opportunity and you're leaving security gaps within your clients. So we give you lots of tips and tricks along the way on how to get that data cleaned up if you're not at a level green, and we deliver an asset list. So the asset lifecycle management report is exactly what you would hope it to see, all of the assets. So these are in Manage, all of the configurations, and we score them red, yellow, green based on whether or not their operating systems have expired, their warranties have expired, or their assets are at end of life. One of the features of Lifecycle Insights is this notion of color swatching. So you can see at the top of the column that I've got blue for missing data, and then the typical stoplight reporting, red, yellow, green, where red is bad and green is good. So I'm most interested in finding where my operating systems have expired. So I'm going to swatch away the blue, green, and yellow. And now I'm left with all the expired operating systems that I need to deal with immediately. I can multi-select all of these and create a recommendation. When I build this recommendation, it's going to push to the budget forecast all in one group. Or if I don't build the recommendation, it'll land on the budget as individual assets. More on the budgeting later. The other piece about this report, there's a lot of flexibility on what we could add into this report. So you can see all the fields I can pull from Manage. In addition to the fields we automatically pull, you can have 5 custom fields. So if you have specific elements that are in your configurations that you would like us to add to it, we can do that. And then you can add or remove columns to design this report to have the pieces and parts that you want to share with your partners. Once you do that, you can see top right, we have download to Word, download to PDF, or and this one you can also do to CSV. But also you can schedule this report for email delivery. So many of our partners want to send monthly asset lifecycle management reports to your inbox, your client's inbox, et cetera, in order to be compliant with some of the security frameworks. So all of the frameworks out there, all the cool kids, NIST, CMMC, CIS, all of them, right, require that someone is documenting what their process is for asset lifecycle management and user management. And so this will let you generate those reports to be compliant in those areas. The other piece that many folks like about Lifecycle Insights is that you can create security roles and groups to allow your partners to log into Lifecycle Insights as a portal. I'm going to jump back to the dashboard to explain what that might look or feel like. The security group will allow you to define what you want your clients to have read and or read-write access to. So you might want to give them access to these 8 tiles that I'm showing now and hide the rest. So you can create a view that gives them exactly the tiles that you want them to see. Same thing with all of the menu items that I'm going to go through on the left-hand side. You have the ability to give read or read-write access to this. We have many partners that give folks access to all of the automation components so they can check in reporting. Have a lot of folks that do co-managed IT, where the internal IT team works right within inside the platform. And some that have a combo platter, right? There's some clients they trust to help enter contracts with them, and there are others that they just want to have view access. So if you've been looking for a solution there, this is a good way to start getting them some of the compliance reports that they need that are more tactical in nature than the strategic piece that you certainly want to deliver face-to-face. So after the asset list, I'm going to go down to the next report on the left-hand side, and this is our user list. So the user list is critically important because we are matching up what is in your PSA, your primary integration, along with the Microsoft Graph API. So here I'm going to say, show me who's red, not in ConnectWise, but green is a Microsoft 365. You can see what products they have. You can see their last activity date. And it's red in the MFA column if MFA is disabled. So think about this conversation right out of the gate. Surely it wouldn't look as badly as my demo environment does. But if you have anyone that is green, is showing up with an active license, but not in manage, should you be charging for that user and you don't know about them? Or more likely, is there a license that they're still paying for that maybe they shouldn't be paying for? So is there someone that may be retired? They kept the mailbox for a while. Nobody's remembered to turn it off. Especially important if MFA is disabled, right? That means there are credentials out there somewhere and they could potentially lead to exposure. So the other piece about this report is that you can add additional users. You can import from any number of applications other fields so that you can match up columns based on an email match. I see a question in the Q&A, so let me grab that up. MFA, Microsoft 365 status, does this require any specific licensing on Microsoft's side to pull this data? It does. So we have a doc here. Mark, can you put in the chat the Microsoft 365 integration piece, because it says on there what field it is or what level it is. So I can certainly do that for you. Thank you. And we've got the Microsoft troubleshooting doc that might have it in it as well. Looking to just see if there was a quick answer at the top. We'll get you an answer there, Brent. If the licenses in Microsoft 365 are unassigned, will they show up here? 3 business standard not assigned to users. So yeah, we would see the license here and we just wouldn't have email addresses, as I believe what that would look like. I can confirm, but I'm pretty sure that, yeah, we're pulling over all the licenses that we see in that particular tenant. And you would just see that would be the case where they are that there's no email match to it. The other piece is we have several integrations with other vendors that can pull into this report. So if you use either Breach Secure Now or Know Before, we have those as cybersecurity phishing training platforms that we integrate with. So I'll pull up the Breach Secure Now report so you can see what those scores look like. We have other integrations for cybersecurity phishing training platforms that we are getting into the system as well. So here you can see folks who are in Breach Secure Now, their latest, ESS score, their phishing fail rate, etc. We have 2 SaaS monitoring platforms, Sasleo and Augment. We have Smileback as our first CSAT score, and we have a couple other standalone reports that also integrate with this. So if I click into more reports, I can see the additional user reporting that I get. So MS Secure Score, right? So this is one more argument for why we need MFA. The Breach Secure Now, we have, oh, yes. So I was asked in the chat if we have plans to add CrewWho. We actually talked to them at ITNation. We're very interested in getting them in, and they're interested in getting their data into the platform. So they're absolutely on the list. Just so you know, in terms of our integrations, we just poll our entire, all of our partners and say, okay, when it comes to CSAT, what is everybody using? And we start knocking them off in terms of priority, and CrewWho has made the list of folks that, we have partners that have voted for that. So we'll +1 you on that one, but know that everybody does get a voice and in what integrations we add to the platform. So here you're seeing, if you're a Breach Secure Now partner, for example, you're seeing a report that looks very similar to what is in Breach Secure Now. But one of the problems we are aiming to solve is that business reviews typically get cobbled together from lots of different platforms. And in doing that, you have to rebuild the reports and put them all together when it makes more sense to have them all in one place. So this looks very much again like Breach Secure Now. The Know Before one looks like Know Before. I'm also being asked about Bullfish. That is on the list as well, along with CyberGuard 360. So those are that is the next up in the cybersecurity phishing, as well as Fin security. We're looking at them too. So we should see those integrations hopefully the first half of next year. Some of the other reporting, as I mentioned, we have Augment and Sasleo. So these are SaaS monitoring platforms. So we're really looking into shadow IT, right? What risky sites are folks adding to their, to their emails, et cetera? What do they have access to that the client really needs to know about? We have Smileback again for CSAT. So we have more of those coming up. And then lastly, I will show the ticket summary. So I ran customer success for a large ed tech company and know what it's like to do business reviews for folks and know what it's like to catch bullets with my teeth and take knives in my back if you end up getting skewered over tickets. So we want to give you a high level summary, but not so that your business review turns into an autopsy of all of the tickets. We want to keep it high level and make sure it's strategic. And if you need to have that ticket summary, then to have that with the project manager, program manager, et cetera, and not the strategic partners that you're aiming to get together at a business review. So those are the individual user reports, a lot of functionality around that. And again, the user management is very important for all of the frameworks and cybersecurity response. The next piece that we automate is contracts. So if you are a ConnectWise Manage or an Autotask partner, we can import your contracts. So in Manage, these are called the agreements and additions. So this pulls over so that you can start delivering, again, a full automated budget. We already have lifecycle management in there, or asset lifecycle management, and now we have the contracts as well. The other thing that really drives a strategic conversation for our partners is the ability to add manual contracts, third-party contracts. So here I have entered a phone service because I'm hoping to convince them that they no longer want this service and that, in fact, they would like to look at my VoIP solution that I offer. So we see people input line of business applications, printer copier services, phone services, ISP providers, etc. And the value here for your partners is you're not just giving them a budget that is all the ways they're going to pay you over the next 3 to 5 years. You're giving them a budget around technology. And when they see all of the things that entails, including their line of business application, et cetera, what they're finding is that technology is what's running their business. So you are a strategic partner at the table, and you're in the conversation of how to best budget for financing, as the years move on. Now is the time to send a budget to your partners. There's end of year spend down money, and they're trying to project next year. So tomorrow on our weekly workshop, so we have weekly workshops with all of our partners, we are taking the bite-sized chunks. If I don't have time to do full business reviews for all of my clients, what can I do now to do something for everyone? And we start with the asset lifecycle management piece, right? There's time to get that in for everyone before the end of the year, because you'd hate to find out in January that they had end of year spend down money and would love to have, replaced the server that you have been talking about for a while, but they forgot to bring up, and instead, bought iPads for everybody for Christmas, etc. So all of these pieces that I have mentioned, the asset lifecycle management, any recommendations we build, and we have much more to talk about that, and the contract piece pushes forward to the budget forecast. So in the budget, we talk about, again, all of those pieces and components, and we've got a few different views. So we've got a detailed view if you really want to dive in and see all of the assets that are going to expire within the next year, et cetera. Most of our partners ship out both a 12-month or 4-quarter detailed view of every asset that's going to be replaced. So the project manager on site knows, who's going to be interrupted by getting new laptops and machines, et cetera. And then also a 3 or 5 year budget. So you can build budgets monthly, quarterly, or yearly up to 12 cycles. Most of our partners do, again, a short-term tactical budget and a long-term strategic budget. So are there any more questions about the budgeting piece? Can the budget forecast be sent to the client as a link rather than as a PDF? Not yet. That is a piece that we're working on now, but we don't have the link. Now you could give them read access in the platform itself so that they had access to it and could log into it, but it's not as a link. And can we exclude individual machines, equipment? Absolutely. You have a ton of control of what you want them to see and what you may hold. So let me answer that one for you. If you look here in the asset list, at the top, I can filter by asset type. So many of our partners start out by just hitting the critical assets and say, I need virtual servers, workstations. That's where we're going to start. And all of these, we're going to require warranties and up-to-date assets, right? We can't have any of that, these 9-year assets that have been hanging out there. So you can control it that way, or you can also select an individual asset, hide it in reporting. So there's a ton of control, and you can even customize asset types. So if you wanted, many of our partners differentiate between workstations and laptops because they've got different default costs. So you use asset types to group them by how you would want to report. Yeah, you bet. So any more questions about kind of the components that will land on the budget? As we have more fun to show there. I want to dig into the recommendation component through assessment, because this is really the power of the strategy behind a business review. I think the most mature business reviews deliver a budget forecast and a technology roadmap that aligns to the client's goals, right? We're aiming to deliver business outcomes through the thoughtful use of technology. And part of that is by delivering an assessment. I like to draw a dark line in the sand here. Now we're moving away from automation. So we don't have agents on machines, right? Our assessment is more of a survey type tool, a questionnaire that you answer for your partners. Some folks have their partners log in and respond to this, but most of the time it requires a combo platter of an engineer and a project manager, an account exec to really go in, ask the right questions and do some discovery to score a client where they're red, yellow, green in their environment. So Lifecycle Insights offers, you can see, I don't know, 12, 14 templated, so assessment templates. You can import your own. So we have a lot of folks that are leaving other assessment platforms like Audit or My IT Process, et cetera, that import their assessments into the platform, or they start with one of ours and edit it to make it their own. So based on your best practices and standards. You can also start from scratch. So a ton of flexibility there. Some of the most popular ones we have seen recently, we are partners with Fifth Wall, which is a cybersecurity and liability insurance carrier. They were actually at ITNation as well. They aggregated 35 different cyber insurance carrier forms into one English form that you can share with your partners to say, the odds of you getting cyber insurance riders next year are going to be problematic if we don't address some of these pieces. It's probably worth the free trial just to go in and download that. Frankly, that's what some folks have told us. You can see we've got CMMC level 1 and 2, CISV 8, and I'm going to walk through our default assessment. We don't have a template for SOC 2, but so we have an MSP Geek Slack channel as well as a Facebook community that I can certainly ask if anybody has built one that they would be willing to share. Many times, some of the templates that land in here have been built by our partners and they're willing to share with others. So I would be more than happy to ask around, but we don't have one in here yet. So once you've built a template, that's like a teacher writing the test, you go into assessment event to actually take the test, for your partner. So I'm going to click into our default assessment to give you a sense of what that looks like. I'm going to collapse all the categories. So the assessments are built on, we're going to score you at the category level and then each individual item. So our default assessment has questions around hardware, security, continuity, business application software, policy and procedure, strategy, and regulatory compliance. When I dig into a category, I can see the individual items. So here I've got a question around asset inventory, and it's really asking me to score, is asset inventory being performed or no, right? At what level? Is that red, yellow, or green? Some folks would say, is asset inventory being performed? Yes, no, and just have red, green. So you can do either type of question. This is just an example in this regard. Some of the features that folks like in the assessment piece is show previous responses. So how did, this customer success manager that just left, what did they say the last time they did this? If you are the owner and you're trying to come up with a process to hand this off to another human, being able to see previous responses and any comments you made help there. As does the ability to add scoring instructions and explanation remediation tips. So if this is scored as red, you put in here, we are going to remediate by making this recommendation. So that keeps it very consistent. One of the things that we see all the time, I always ask on calls what your current QBR process looks like. And I regularly hear ad hoc, or there's not much of a process, right? It could be better. And a piece of that is documenting it all in one place so that you can consistently deliver and scale the process so that you can get a regular cadence for all of your clients, even if it's not quarterly, because everyone doesn't need it quarterly. You might also notice on the screen, we have a place for public comments as well as private comments. And then you may have noticed earlier, there are lots of places on the platform where you can create a PSA ticket. So if you see an immediate problem, you wouldn't want to have to log out, go to manage, put in a ticket, etc. You can just create a PSA ticket from here. It'll say we're on this question, and you can fill in the details in the ticket. And you can also create tags. These tags allow you to filter the assessment. So I could say, these are all kind of customer responsibility. So I can report out on Mr. or Mrs. Customer, this is how you're doing based on the ones we would hold you accountable for. And here's how we're doing on ours. So let me show you what the assessment looks like, the score, the form itself looks like. Let me see, I have a question first. You mentioned the bullets and daggers. Do you feel all QBRs have those or just the ones without this tool? I feel like business reviews that are not strategic often have bullets and daggers. Do you need Lifecycle Insights to create that strategic business review? You definitely do not, right? All of these things could be done with spreadsheets and Word docs, et cetera. So we're aiming to make the process faster and scalable. And we're also aiming to help you deliver strategy as opposed to tactics. So I often give presentations at events and sessions, and I have a quick, like, rapid fire lightning round of what not to say in a business review. If you're spending your time talking about patch stats and how many spams you've anti-spammed and how many viruses you've antivirus, that's not truly strategic, right? The business owner just expects that as baseline information, table stakes if you have it, as opposed to, I want to hear about business outcomes and how technology is helping drive that. So I think the important part is to be strategic. We absolutely aim to help you be strategic, but again, that can be done with spreadsheets and cobbling together reports. We're just hoping to make it faster and friendlier for you. We do not integrate with Kaseya BMS for creating a ticket yet. That is on our roadmap, but right now, the only integration on the Kaseya side of the house is with IT Glue. Check that I've answered those. Okay, perfect. So once I've gone through and scored the assessment, right? I've made my notes, I've added public and private comments, etc. I can go in and get a summary view. So this is a nice view for your clients. They understand red, yellow, green, keep it simple, of all of the categories and how we've done, right? One of the things you might say, well, I hope to never give one of my existing clients a 40.59%. Our assessment platform is available for free for prospects and existing clients above the subscription. So if you haven't checked out our pricing page, first, we offer a free 30-day trial for up to 5 active clients or for 25 active clients. Those are both free for 30 days. But if you had the 5 active client package, you could do assessments on all of the rest of your client base for free. You don't require a subscription to them. Some folks ask why you would do that. And here's the business reason is, one, we believe doing assessments and tracking progress toward eliminating risk for your clients will help build your business, and that will help build our business. The other piece is we often see a disconnect between sales and what happens after you've onboarded a client. So if we put your data in the same place and let you set a baseline, if you were at a 40 when we started and now we've moved the needle to here, you're going to be less at risk of churn for your partners. And by showing that ROI, you are able to drive business again, and show the improvement. So your clients keep wanting to improve. For those of you that are interested in the pricing, we've got the slider. I'll click on all of them just so that they pop up on the screen if you're eating lunch and are still getting a view of what we have. Everything I am talking about today is in the VCIO package. So let me just explain the 2 other packages before I go back into assessments. Included in VCIO package is quite literally everything I'm talking about today, including warranty lookups on those 5 active customers. Many of our partners say, well, I've got 5 big partners that I want to do business reviews for right now before the end of the year. Let's make that happen. But I have 25 other partners that if I could give them that asset lifecycle management report, I could probably do some asset refresh for them. And I want warranty lookups on everybody. So this AIR package on the right-hand side is exactly that. It's the warranty lookup asset lifecycle management piece. So that's $79 a month, unlimited customers, unlimited endpoints, unlimited users. If you have trolled around at all on our website, you'll see William at the bottom of the first page, or you might have talked to him. He came and volunteered to hang out at the booth and talk to folks for us. He got Lifecycle Insights after ITNation 3 years ago. He signed up for the trial on a Thursday. Over the weekend, he cleaned up his data. And the next week, he did 2 business reviews where he gave them the asset lifecycle management report. And he sold a $40,000 asset refresh and a $60,000 asset refresh. So he figures he can come hang out at our booth since he's going to, pay for lifecycle for forever with that one project. And then lastly, I forgot, we have a customer success module, which helps you track stack alignment and customer success. If you happen to pick up the green book, that's called literally the book on customer success for MSPs, I wrote that in order to give the thought leadership behind the customer success module. It does require the VCIO package, so we highly recommend getting folks doing business reviews first, because that data is going to feed into customer success to drive some account management KPI type of information and stack alignment. If you're thinking, oh, well, I want to see that too, then just don't unsubscribe and I'll make sure to send you an invite for that as well. So I'm back in the assessment. We talked about the fact that maybe this is for a prospect and they're at a 40%. One of the things that our partners really appreciate is our comparison report, because this is where they get to show their partners what they've done for them, right? This is often a struggle. It's why, frankly, a lot of people report out on patch stats and spam stats, because it's easy to say, like, I blocked 1,700 spam emails this month. But folks expect their computers to do that for them with the help of an MSP. So that seems, again, particularly technical and tactical, not strategic. But here you can see, okay, you were at a 41%. And if you were giving this to a prospect, when you come on board with us, it will immediately move the needle to a 77%. You can see we'll still have some needs to clean up in terms of hardware and security, but we will have moved the needle dramatically by the first things we're going to implement. So to have that conversation and show the return on the investment is very powerful. After you've scored it, I've shown you the summary views. You also can look at it item by item, because this is where I think the magic of an MSP happens. This is where you're going to look at what you've seen in the environment and the risks that your clients have, and you're going to help have a conversation with them around how the recommendations you would make to reduce their risk. So this is where I'm going to go into item detail, where I see all of the red items, all of the yellow items, etc. And I can say, all right, what am I going to prioritize if I look at this list? And maybe I can group some of these together with the same recommendation. So I'm going to grab 3 items on the list and create a recommendation from here. And when I build this recommendation, and Ryan, I'll answer your question in the chat in just a second. When I build this recommendation, I've got the business risk that the client cares about, but now I can associate it to those assets that are a problem. So I can now put all of those Windows 7 machines on there. But instead of coming at it from the, like, your flux capacitors are old, right? Instead, we're saying you've got some risk in your business, and this is the recommendation we're going to make in order to improve that. You can add labor, material, recurring costs, etc. to these recommendations to drive a recommendation roadmap. For those of you that are listening to the recording, I have in the chat, how do you respond to clients asking where the scores come from and who's the authority on what 100% means versus 40%? So for sure, your MSP decides your best standards and practices that will determine what is 100%. So this is where you have the conversation around your experience, right? And your understanding of the threats that are out there and what it would take to protect their business. Our default assessment has been built around some of those frameworks. So it would, MFA, yeah, that everybody says that's a good idea, right? So to have the conversation of, we have created an assessment that aligns with our best practices and standards, because this is what we know is needed to help make you supportable, scalable, and secure, right? That's kind of the language around the conversation. Now, I mentioned we built those recommendations, and what you're hoping to show them is when you have those risks, we've built recommendations to talk about how we're going to alleviate those risks. So this is your remediation plan. right? I want to go back a bit to your question. Some of our folks start with smaller assessments if they don't have a full cyber stack yet, and maybe they look at productivity tools and they ask questions around productivity and ways you can impact productivity. Again, scalability, supportability, maybe they want to expand to a new location. So asking questions around that, or looking at some of the cyber insurance questions on the cyber insurance form to see, like, do you realize to get cybersecurity insurance next year, Mr. or Mrs. CEO, like you're going to have to be able to answer yes to some of these pieces. So I'm also being asked, when using this for prospecting, can we convert that standalone non-client to a full client in the platform so we can start tracking changes going forward? You can. So right now you would set up the best practice is to enter the prospect in your PSA, pull it over, and then when you convert them to a client, they're just already like that. So that'll just keep the data right associated to them. Or if you manually enter them in Lifecycle, then you can just convert it to when you put them in the PSA, we do a mapping on the back end. So you just need to let support know. So you don't have to redo any of the work. It definitely seems like a terrible idea. So we aim to keep you from having to do that. While I'm on the recommendation roadmap, I do want to show you a couple of views here. This was released maybe 6 weeks ago, and our partners have already said that this is a game changer for them in conversations because it's very easy to see. These are the things we haven't scheduled, right? So these are associated to risks and really loss of business opportunities or outcomes if we don't move them onto the board. You can drag these around, and when you do, they will move on the budget forecast to wherever you have placed them. So this automatically updates the budget report without you having to go into a separate budget report and build it all over again. So when I was asked, like, do you have to have this tool in order to have strategic conversations? It just, again, is aiming to make it easier for you. The other view of this that folks like is the status board. And this is where you can keep the eye on the prize with, you have declined Cisco Duo for MFA, and this is still causing a risk, right? We need to have a conversation around that so they don't get off the hook when they say, I'm just not going to pay for that now. So you can show them what's proposed, what they've already accepted, etc. So this view really pushes that. So I have 2 more pieces that I want to show. Keep the questions coming. I think it makes it more interactive for sure. And you get kind of your answer while you're looking at the piece, so you don't have to remember it later. The next piece I want to show you is Report Builder. The goal of Lifecycle Insights is to help you deliver the QBR your customer deserves, right? So we handed out the QBR playbook. I will put it in the chat again because I saw some folks came in after I put it in the chat the first time. So happy to have a full house. So I'm definitely happy to throw this in there again. So from here, the notion is you get to create your own easy button. And when I say that, I mean, I just showed you N number of reports and you're thinking, oh, I want that report and this report and that version and that version. But every time you go in to build that, you don't want to have to go grab, right? That's only just cobbling it together in the same place instead of 7 different places. Instead, you can stack the components that you're interested in. I can stack an asset list. I can stack my augment report. I can stack any of these reports. I can stack my user list, etc., to build a template. You can have any number of templates. We have partners that have an annual assessment template that everybody gets, and then an annual QBR template or a quarterly template for some of their larger clients that get them quarterly, or maybe a small version of like a monthly check-in type of template. I'm going to jump to cleverly titled My Favorite Template, so you can see what the full output looks like. Again, if I click download and export to this to PDF or Word, if you need to make edits, it looks like the output that I just linked into the chat. Or we have presentation mode, and presentation mode will let me click through basically so I don't have to build a PowerPoint slide deck, right? So this builds the report. It's still functional, but it hides some of the back end of Lifecycle Insights for your client, but it's still dynamic. So when I'm talking about the budget forecast and they say, hey, what are those 9 workstations we're replacing next year? You can drill in, and maybe that's when they have the conversation of, okay, let's go ahead and do that now. We've got end of year spend down money. We can take care of that now, and that'll level out our expense for next year. So the notion of report builder is for you to quickly replicate. When I'm in the report, I can then jump from creative designs to Get Well Medical Services, and it will rebuild the stack of reports. You, of course, have to do an assessment for this client as well, right? We can't just auto guess what your assessment scores are going to be, but it gives you the same framework and allows you to connect the dots a lot faster. The other piece that I like to show is the scheduler. So I mentioned earlier that not everybody deserves or wants a quarterly business review. So you need to think about segmenting your population into who deserves quarterly, monthly, annually, or semi-annually. And to set that cadence in the platform, it's one of those, what is inspected is what is expected. And if you haven't really set the expectation that we're going to do these business reviews, it's easy to say, we'll just push that off to the next quarter. I work with a lot of folks who are traction shops, and they have said, okay, Q4, my rock is to get business reviews going. And we create, again, bite-sized pieces, so it's not overwhelming. Let's start with asset and user reporting, for example. But here I've gone into my clients and I've said who deserves quarterly, monthly, et cetera. And then when I click into an individual client, I'm in their individual business review. So here I can kick off a PSA ticket so I can track time against prepping for a business review. And I can also start documenting what went on in that business review. I can upload artifacts. I can create follow-up notes with PSA tickets for all of the recommendations that they accepted to kick off the work. So your account managers, your customer success managers, whatever you call the team that is customer facing, can really do all of their work here and kick over the project work to the project team and the PSA where that should be done. So that drives the conversation around making sure that everything happens for all of your clients, because you can just watch in here that the follow-up to the business review has happened. So I'm going to go back to the dashboard and see if we have any questions on any of that. All right. I am putting in the chat a link to our pricing page, which is where you can grab a free trial. Let me tell you a bit about what it looks like to onboard and become a happy life cycler. So when you sign up for a free trial, it does require a credit card, although we don't charge it for 30 days and give you plenty of warning that that's coming. You will get an automated email cadence that says, let's go plug in your PSA or invite one of your users that has the API credentials. It takes about 20 minutes to do the API setup, and takes us about 30 minutes or so to go out, grab all the information, do the warranty lookups to populate your site. You'll get an email with that when that happens, along with some information on next steps, like we've got default settings for everything, but you might want to update some of that. So I'm being asked, there are a few other companies that claim to do the same thing as Lifecycle. Can you share anything that is better about Lifecycle than like ScalePad's version or whatever? So ScalePad does a fine job on the asset lifecycle management component, but they don't have the assessment budgeting pieces. So they're limited in the warranty lookup component. And so the notion of the assessments, the strategic conversation, the recording of the business review, all of that is really where we differ. There are probably 7 tools on the market. And the pieces that typically, each of the tools will be missing one of the following things. Some of them don't do warranty lookups. Some of them don't have any of the user functionality, which we're finding a lot of people are really driving conversations around the user management right now. They don't have the standalone report integration piece, automated budgets, and then the recommendation component. So everybody has got 1 or 2 pieces, but nobody else really has all 5 of those in one place. The other thing, frankly, that differentiates us from all of the companies we feel like is our community. So we aim to be out there and educate. We've written 2 books on this. So if you search my name in Amazon, there aren't a lot of Marnies out there. We have literally the book on customer success for MSPs and the MSP Handbook QBR edition. We also have, since we're talking about onboarding, one of the emails you would get would be to take note of our onboarding checklist in the platform. So if you're a DIY kind of shop and you want to go through the checklist, we can walk you through it here. We also invite you to a weekly new to Lifecycle Insights conversation. We have a 4-week recurring cadence that is 30 minutes of canned content and 30 minutes of Q&A, but we also have them recorded. And then we also always do one-on-one onboarding for free. I'm getting another question in the chat. I heard that you have regular weekly meetings. That's something that's included. How can we join that? Yes. So all of our partners are invited to our weekly workshop, which happens every Friday. And there are various topics. Sometimes we invite other vendor partners to talk about topics we're hearing in the space, not sell. We don't let them do that, but we do have good conversations around cybersecurity, what we're seeing in the space, SaaS monitoring. What does that mean? What should MSPs look for? We talk about product enhancements. So that is where all of our partners are invited to participate and say what they love, what they'd like to see more in Lifecycle Insights and the functionality, and they share best practices. Some of our best weekly workshops are when our partners are talking about how they've delivered better business reviews. I'd highly recommend. They're all public on our YouTube channel. This week, we're actually talking about the bite-sized pieces to build a budget. It is normally only for partners, but I am more than happy to send the invite for that for this week, in case any of you are thinking, I might like to see what that looks like. That is absolutely included. All of the education components that we do is always free, because we feel like if rising tide lifts all ships. I know it sounds trite, but we do believe that that if we can get everyone delivering better, more strategic business reviews, it's better for everyone. So this is going to be a long invite in the chat, but I hope I can copy and paste it into the chat. All right, how about this? I'll put the shortened version of it in the chat, and then I will send it out in the email so everybody can get it. There we go. I at least got a short version. So this is Fridays at 3 Eastern. And again, we record it and send it out to everybody. So every Monday, you get an email saying what we talked about last week with the recording and what's coming up the following week. This week would be a good week to jump in, because next week with Thanksgiving, we don't have the workshop. But otherwise, I think we only miss about 2 a year. So we do about 50 of these a year, and they are on our YouTube channel. Again, we're always happy to hop on one-on-one calls. So if you're thinking you're interested, but you still have questions, or somebody else in your company needs to take a look, I will send out a one-on-one booking link. If you're thinking, great, I'm ready, sign me up for a trial. I will put that link in the chat again. Would love to see you life cycling. Again, it'll kick off all the emails and invites straight away. So you will get going, and would love to answer. Oh, wrong link. Let's try that one more time. Here, that again is to the free trial, if you're interested. So are there any other questions I can answer for anyone? All right. Well, I'm super glad you joined today. I hope we did get to chat at the booth. I feel like now you have an unfair advantage because I only have names in the chat instead of faces. So I hope I get to see you on one of our weekly workshops. I'm very much looking forward to. I always enjoy our conversations about really how to build better business reviews and help your clients, build their business through technology. So hope to see you life cycling. Have a great afternoon. Yes, there is a price benefit if you sign up before January 1st. Our prices are going up January 1st. Whatever subscription you are locked into on December 31st will lock in, and you'll be grandfathered into that regardless of what price increases we have. So there's definitely an advantage to get rolling in a free trial now. Yeah. Awesome. Hope to see you in there as well. Thank you so much.